Sessions conducted by Tiju's Academy, Tiruvalla. Good morning, all. Today we will be having an IELTS speaking series. I hope everybody's preparations are going well. And today, since it is third week, we will be dealing with part 2, that is Cue Card. Meanwhile, I will wait for the students who commonly come up for the sessions. I hope everybody's day started with pleasantly, and I hope everybody's preparations are also going well. Let's wait for the students to join. In the previous live sessions, we have already dealt that there are 3 sections in speaking. Part 1, Part 2 and Part 3. Last week I have taken a class regarding Part 1, that is warm-up sessions. And I hope it was beneficial, and a lot of students have come up with thanking us that the session was very productive. I hope everybody's preparations are going well. And again, we are here with another video from Tiju's Academy, and I'm one of the tutors from Tiju's Academy, Tiruvalla branch. I'm Aishwarya Sandeep, and I'll be taking today's speaking series part 2. Meanwhile, I'll wait for the students who are eagerly waiting for our sessions. Good morning, Priya. Good morning. How are you? I'm good, dear. I'm having kind of a cold. I think it can be reflected in my voice. Otherwise, I'm doing good. Thank you. Good morning. How are you, Nelson? How are you? How is your preparations going on? Okay. I hope you have taken the test date. Okay. Today is weekend, right? Everybody, and I know that the day hasn't ended, but everybody is waiting for the weekend because there are a lot of plans the weekend since it is Saturday and Sunday. I hope you will have a very beautiful and memorable weekend ahead. Today we will be dealing with speaking 2, that is part 2. Can anybody tell me what is the tips for or how can you score well in your Cue Card, because that is something we have been evaluated, right? And part 1, when it comes to part 1, we don't have to be very cautious. That does not mean that we can make mistake, but what I'm trying to say is we can be very natural because the questions will be based on our life styles and the things related to us. So it is very easy to answer such questions, and part 1 is always assessed on how fluent you can answer the questions or how you can relate it to your daily life tasks to another person, how you can elaborate and say. That is what our part 1 means, right? And in part 1 it is very easy that we don't make many mistakes because it is very easy, and since it is related to our lifestyle, many of you find it very easy to answer such questions. But when it comes to part 2, what you need to keep in mind is you don't you should use an informal language, and you should be quickly speaking out. I tend to there are a lot of students that speak spontaneously but in a fast pace. That is not actually a good thing if you're making a lot of mistakes like grammatical error. Make sure that you're not saying things very fast pace. Rather tell it clearly and pronounce properly, because that's what they're going to evaluate in your exam. Because if you're not pronouncing the words properly, or rather swallowing some words, it's not a good thing, because there are a lot of students who tend to speak very fast, thinking that the British the people over there speak a lot of with the use of intonation and everything. So people tend to think that if you speak very fast, it's a good thing. But it's a good thing, but don't increase your volume a lot, that it is difficult for the invigilator to understand what you're trying to say. So make sure that you speak such a way that it is pronounced properly and understand by the invigilator. So I'll start with these sessions. I can see some students showing up. Good morning, Atara. Good morning. Good morning, Anil. Good morning. How are you? Hope your day is very beautiful. I know it just started today, but then I wish everybody has a very productive and beautiful day ahead today. So we'll start with our sessions. I can see that a lot of students have joined here. So in part 2, how the speaking test is conducted. Speaking test, in speaking test part 2, you have first is introduction. It's kind of an interview that the examiner will verify your ID and your passport, and they can ask you questions related to your school and family, friends, and other favorite places that you visited. So it is very easy to relay the answers, because since it is related to your life, it will be very easy to be said. The other class I already mentioned that part 1 is very easy, because you don't have to be tensed. But when it comes to part 2, it's a long run, because you will be given a cue card and a task will be there. Then after 1 minute, that is the preparation time is 1 minute. And after the 1 minute, we are supposed to speak 2 minutes continuously for the cue card. And after the topic, the examiner will ask you question based on the cue card. Then goes the part 3, where the discussion is taken place. You will have a discussion with the examiner, where the issues related to the topic given in part 2 will be assessed from your side. So today what I am going to do with speaking is I'm planning to take a part 2, that is the cue card sessions. And I find that most of the students find it very difficult to get ideas or how to narrate the cue card properly. Especially they find it hard to speak for 2 minutes. So what you need to do for the part 2 is, when you get a question, you should be prepared to speak 2 minutes. The examiner will ask you to speak for 1 to 2 minutes. Ignore this, because aim to speak for 2 minutes, because if you aim for 2 minutes, then only you can finish in 1 minute and 50 seconds or something. Because when you lack the speaking, that is when you tend to stop your speaking by 1 minute or 1 minute and 30 seconds, that's not a good thing, because a task is to finish by 2 minutes. So practice speaking for 2 minutes, and it's your chance to show the examiner how well you can talk for an extended period, because you're not pausing in between. You are talking based on the cue card given, and of course in the cue card there are certain tasks which has to be explained to the examiner. So make sure that you practice on a daily basis for at least 5 minutes continuously on a topic. Then by doing so, you will be very confident, and you will be very you will develop a language that you don't hum in between, or you will not pause in between. You will be confident enough to carry out the conversation. And remember that it's a one-way conversation. You're not going to talk to the interviewer or the examiner. Sorry, not the interviewer, the examiner. They are not going to ask you questions in between. You'll have to continuously Speak for 2 minutes, okay? And many people call it the long turn because it's your turn to speak for a long time. 2 minutes is actually not a really long time, yeah, but since there are a lot of people who don't speak in English for a long time, for them it will be very difficult. So what you need to do is you need to practice so that you can continuously speak for 2 or more than 2 minutes, and make sure that when you're crossing 2 minutes, the examiner will let you know that your time is over, but don't stop abruptly, okay? What you need to do is continue speaking, but wind it soon. Not just when they say your time is up, you're pausing and you're not finishing what you were talking. You shouldn't do that. Make sure that you wind it properly, such a way that the conversation ends in a good note. Okay. Good morning, Priya. Good morning. How are you, dear? Okay. So, how's your preparations going on? Okay. And I think many of you know that there is a rule which is being implemented, or it's still going on, that you can club your scores. So there are a lot of students who get not a desired score, and they for them it is a very good news because they can club their scores also. Okay, I'll get back to the class. So today we are going to look for part 2, that is cue card sessions. And today I'm here with a session which explains about the cue card, childhood. There are a lot of questions that can be asked for your cue card. One among them is childhood. So this is how a cue card will look. You will be asked 4 questions. Who this person is, how you became friends with this person, what kinds of things you like to do with this person, explain why you like him or her. So you are supposed to describe about a childhood friend, okay? So meanwhile, when you get to 1 minute for preparations, make sure that you are making notes regarding these 4 questions. That is who it is. So you can think about a friend who studied with you in, very small classes, or maybe a long-term friend. That's what they mean by childhood friend. You can say a friend who was your childhood friend. That means he or she is no more your friend, or maybe you have lost their contact, or the relationship is weak or something. So you can talk about a friend who was, or you can say about a friend who is still your best friend or somebody, okay? So you have to think about a person, such a person, no, not like you met in your college. That's not a childhood friend, okay? So childhood friend is when you are at your younger age. Maybe he or she is in your class, or maybe near to your house. You can think about such a person. And next questions come, how you became friends with this person. So once you're introducing your friend, then you have to say how you met him or her, how was the encounter. That is, you met by chance, or you met in your class, or maybe in a playground, or in your neighborhood, something like that. So you need to say how you became friends, and make sure that you are not talking as a parietal speaking. That is, who this person is. First question is who this person. So my friend is Ria, and I became friend with her while I was in my first grade, and goes like that. Don't do that. You can talk naturally. That is, you can talk in between. You don't have to go in an order, because there is 4 questions. That does not mean that you have to go in an order, okay? So you can speak from here and there, but make sure that you are answering all these 4 questions. And the third question is, what kinds of things you like to do with this person. So you can say what you did with that person while you guys were together, maybe playing, maybe, eating, or going for fishing, or whatever things that you both were engaged. You can, mention those things that you were doing, okay? And you can tell maybe things that you wanted to do with that person, that also you can mention. And the fourth question is, explain why you like that person. So here you can say about the characteristic of that person, maybe caring, loving, or the soft-hearted, or maybe very socially talkative person and gives a positive vibes. So you can say any of these reasons for that fourth question. So these 4 questions has to be answered in 2 minutes. Make sure that you don't finish it, because frankly saying these 4 questions need actually hardly a minute it takes. So if you're going to say these 4 questions such a way, you're not going to cross even a minute. So make sure that you elaborate properly so that you're dragging the time. And what I tell my students is, never go directly to the question when a cue card is given to you, and that's when you start speaking. For example, I'm going to start saying like, I have a friend named Ria. We met while we were in school. It's been now 25 years since I met her. So and so. See, directly I have gone to the question number 1, and then I already finished my question number 2. Now I just have 3 and 4 left. So now time is going. It took me hardly 30 seconds. Yeah. So what you need to do is give a statement. Here, what is a keyword? Childhood, or even you can take the keyword friend. Yeah. So among childhood and friend, what statement you can say? That's what my question is. Yeah, what statement you can say on childhood? Childhood is so and so, or friend is a person who stand with us in our life or something like that. Start with the statement, and then you go for the explanation. I shall give you introduction. That's a sample of how the speaking introduction can be carried out. So what I said here is, childhood is there, friend is there. So what keyword I have taken here is friend. So I will start saying by, friends are so important in life, and childhood friends know us inside out, and talking to friends is always relaxing, and one can pour a heart out in front of our friends without any hesitation. Friends give us advice and support unconsciously. So this is the introduction which I'm going to give. Yeah. So I'm already buying some time here. You should also do that. It's kind of a tip, okay? So next, I'm going to the answer. We normally discuss our doubts and daily activities with our near and dear friends. We all have one friend whom we trust from the bottom of our heart. So again, I'm giving an explanatory sentence regarding the one which I said before. So I'm stating the importance of friends in my life. So I'm not going directly to the question now also. After saying these 3 sentences, I'm going to the main question. So the first question was what? Explain about a friend. So here I'm going to say, here I'm going to talk about, what is the difference between talk and say? Anybody? Because I said here I'm going to say about, and then I corrected and say here I'm going to talk about. So since the word came up, the question is, what is the difference between say and talk? This is a common mistakes usually students do a lot of time, while especially for speaking as well as and for your writing also. So what is the difference between say and talk? Yes, please comment here so that I know that you're participating and you're actively involving in the session. Good morning, Ria. Good morning. So anybody, do you know what is the difference between say and talk? Yes. Yes, Anantu, the answer is correct. Say is when the listener is absent. See, right now I'm here and the viewers are the listeners, okay? So I'm going to say, I'm going to talk about, because you guys are there to listen to me. And since our IELTS exam, the examiner is there, we are supposed to say, I'm going to talk. because it's not a one-man show. For a speech or something, we can see politicians giving out speeches. In such scenarios, it's just one person. So he can say, I'm going to say today about so and so. Understand? So say is when the listener is absent, and talk is when the listener is present. So I'll continue by saying, here I'm going to talk about my best friend who is extremely an interesting person. So again, I'm going to say about the friend name or something. I'm going to give an introduction about my friend. I gave an introduction. And then comes the next one, who this person is. See, I'm not going to say, I'm not going to state about the who this person. I'm continuously saying, for an example, I'm showing the answers, okay? So the third question was, who this person is. So I'm going to explain who this person. My childhood friend is Joe, is a person who enlightens me with his interesting conversations. He works in the media, so he knows everything inside out. I get to know every information, raw and real. He also has good knowledge about current affairs. So you can see here I have used some words, and I have even used an idiom also here. Can you tell me which idiom is used in these sentences? Because in order to get a band 7 above, you're supposed to use idioms. Again, I'm going to explain in the slides what is idiom and its usage for IELTS speaking. So since an idiom came up in this sentence, I'm explaining what is an idiom. Because in order to get a band 7, you're supposed to use at least 1 or 2 idioms for a speaking. So in this sentence, which is an idiom? Anybody? I'll give, yes. Talk is face to face. Mustafa, what I meant is in this sentence, which is an idiom which I used? You can see the slides, right? So I have used an idiom in these sentences. He works in the media, so he knows everything inside out. I get to know every information, raw and real. He also has good knowledge about current affairs. Among this, which is an idiom which I have used? That's what I'm asking. Okay. A lot of students are commenting. Yes. Okay. No, Mustafa, not person of. No. Idiom. Idiom means what? See, proverbs and quotes and idioms are the words which we use for our speaking, but I would say idioms is easier compared to proverbs or quotes. Proverbs എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ പഴഞ്ചൊല്ലുകളാണ്. ഓക്കെ, അപ്പോൾ ഈ പഴഞ്ചൊല്ല് എന്ന് പറയുമ്പോൾ നമ്മൾ സ്പീക്കിങ്ങിൽ ഏത് കോണ്ടെക്സ്റ്റിൽ പറയണം എന്നുള്ളൊരു ബുദ്ധിമുട്ട് വരും. കാരണം ഇറ്റ്സ് എ ലോങ് സെൻറ്റൻസ്. പ്രൊവേർബ്സ് എന്ന് പറയുമ്പോൾ പഴഞ്ചൊല്ലാണ്, വലിയ ഫ്രേസുകളാണ്, വലിയ സെൻറ്റൻസുകളാണ്. അപ്പോൾ നമ്മൾ പറയുന്നതിന് കറക്റ്റായിട്ട് ആപ്റ്റായിട്ട് വരണം എന്നില്ല. ആൻഡ് quotes is again the words taken out from the people who are really famous personalities like APJ Abdul Jawaharlal Nehru or so and so. അങ്ങനെയുള്ളവരുടെ വാക്കുകളാണ് quotes അല്ലെങ്കിൽ quotations എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. That is also again a difficult task to learn. Why? Because if you learn at least 25-30, at least one you will come across to say it. So it is not practicable to learn quotes and proverbs. Quotes എന്ന് പറയുമ്പോൾ നമുക്കത് മാറ്റാൻ പറ്റത്തില്ല. അവർ പറഞ്ഞ അതേ കോൺവെർസേഷൻ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ അതേ വാചകങ്ങൾ നമ്മൾ അതേപോലെ പറയണം. അപ്പോൾ നമുക്ക് സ്പീക്കിങ്ങിൽ അതൊരു വലിയ ടാസ്ക്കാണ് കോട്ട്സും പ്രൊവേർബ്സും പറയുന്നത്. അപ്പോൾ അത് വെച്ച് നോക്കുകയാണെങ്കിൽ നമുക്ക് ഇഡിയംസ് ആണ് ഏറ്റവും എളുപ്പം. ഇഡിയംസ് മീൻസ് ഫ്രേസസ്. ഫ്രേസസ് മീൻസ് you are going to explain about the situations by saying 1 or 2 words. For example, here the idiom which I have used is inside out. The fourth sentence, he works in the media, so he knows everything inside out. So inside out എന്ന് പറയുന്നതാണ് idiom. Very good, Binu. Raw and real also another idiom. So inside out means what? Inside out is the first idiom which I have used here. Inside out means what? Everything you know. Since he works in the media, he knows everything what is happening around a person. That's what it means. But ഞാനിപ്പോൾ എൻ്റെ ഒരു ലോങ് ടേം ഫ്രണ്ടിനെ പറ്റി പറയുകയാണ്. So I'm saying he knows me inside out. Yeah, so it means what? He knows or she knows me about everything about me, what I like, what I dislike, or who's my favorite person, or who's my role model, or what I like to eat, or the place which I love to go. Everything a person knows, or my best friend knows everything about me. So that everything means inside out. Understand? That is the first idiom which I have used here. And the next idiom, which is, I get to know every information raw and real. Binu, the answer is correct. Raw and real means what? Fresh and new. That's what means raw and real. Okay? I get to know every information raw and real. Since that person is working in media, I don't have to wait for the newspaper or an article or a news to come out to know about that particular incident. Because he tells me everything like a fresh. Understand? അതായത് ന്യൂസിൽ പോകുന്നതിന് മുന്നേ തന്നെ എനിക്ക് തന്നെ എല്ലാം അറിയാൻ പറ്റുന്നുണ്ട്. Raw and real. Raw means fresh. പുതിയതായിട്ട് ഞാൻ തന്നെ അറിയുന്നു. So that is the second idiom which I have used here. And I'm given an explanatory sentence like he also has good knowledge about current affairs. Shiji, good morning. Today we are dealing about Cue Card, Shiji. Please watch the other sessions if you are not familiar with it. So I was giving you tips on how you can talk for Cue Card too. Okay. So the fourth question was how you became friends with this person. So the next question is this. So like I said before, you need to explain how you became friends. Since it is a question related to childhood, we need to narrate the incident. Okay, so here I have given a sample, that is, we became friends from the first day of school and we were neighbors from childhood. We shared a great bond with each other and stood by each other on good and bad days. A family also knows each other so that they have a great bonding. In my school, we used to sit together in one bench and also played games together. So they are asking you about what you did with that person or what you like to do. That is the next question, but I have combined the answers here. So you are elaborately and saying how you met that person and how you have a communication or how is your bonding. Since you are the best friend with that person, the family is also bonded together. Bonding means what? Our relationship of family തുടർന്നുകൊണ്ടേയിരിക്കുന്നു. And then I'm giving an explained sentence that in school we used to sit together. So you have used the word we used to sit. It's a past tense, okay? കഴിഞ്ഞു പോയ കാര്യമാണ്. So make sure that you are using the tenses properly. We used to sit together on one bench and played games together. You can elaborate and say what the games you did. So here I just gave a sample. So I just said in a sentence, you can tell about the place that you both went. Like I and he used to go for fishing together, especially on weekends. And that's something we love doing together. And I think till our class 10th, we used to hang around together, especially on holidays. And even our family together used to hang around each other. Good morning, Sridhu. So that's how we can tell about how you became friends with that person. Okay. The next question is, what kinds of things you like to do with this person? So the previous question itself, I have mentioned a sentence that I used to play with that person or share my things in school. So I'm elaborately and saying I like to do many indoor and outdoor activities, but our conversations are very interesting. Being a media guy, Joe talks about almost everything going on in the world. He has excellent knowledge on political affairs, economy, and financial topics. So I'm relating his personal career and giving an characteristic explanation over here. So I can use the word guy here because it's an informal conversation. You don't have to say being a media person or something because it's an informal conversation. Okay, so being a media guy, he talks about everything and he has excellent knowledge about political affairs, economy, and financial topics. So you're talking about how you spend together or how your conversation is going on, and explaining regarding his professionalism. Since he is working in media, I can relate to this. Or if he is from another profession, you can talk about that scenario. For example, if he is a musician, you can talk like we talk about music and music directors, and especially sings or used to show me about the notes that he created. All those you can talk about. Based on the profession that person is, you can connect your conversation, like how your conversation is going on. Okay. And the last, I'm going to wind that question by saying he gets the opportunity to interact with the figureheads of the industry. So he shares a deep and heavy content with me on a daily basis. So figureheads means what? High personalities. Okay, since he is working in media, he get to know a lot of politicians, maybe actors, or maybe cricketers, or be it from any kind of field, famous personalities. That's what it means by figureheads. Okay, that's a vocabulary we are using here. So I'm talking about how popular or how productive our conversation is with that person, my conversation with that person. So I'm saying here he knows everybody, and he talk about deep and heavy content. What do you mean by deep and heavy content? About things that is maybe secret, or maybe the things that is around circulating around the politics, or something debatable topics. So be it anything, that's what it means by deep and heavy content, which needs political answers or queries or something like that. It's related to politics or the people he's working with. So our conversation is always deep. It's not simple matter like maybe buying some things for the household or maybe going for shopping. Everything is there, but I'm initiating and saying that our conversations are always deep, and there is always reflecting what his personality is all about. And the next one is explain why you like that person. So you can talk about why you enjoy the company of such a person, maybe due to his characteristics like lovable or talkative, or always giving you positive advices, like a brother or like a best friend, like a more than like a family member. So you can explain why that person is favorable to you. So the answer is, I like him just because of his knowledgeable and his enlightening thoughts. What do you mean by enlightening thoughts? Here again, I have used that vocabulary, in order to gain my band score. Enlightening thoughts means, which are not simple, but, giving visions, that is future visions, which motivates people. Or it can be related to career, work, or anything. So it is giving you the other person positive vibes about life, being positive or moving forward, or giving advices related to any queries asked by the other person. That's what means by enlightening thoughts. So I have explained here that I love this person or I like this person because he is very knowledgeable. So I have already explained how knowledgeable he is. That is, since he is working in media, he knows about a lot of things about politics and deep contents. And here I am suggesting another word, that is enlightening, because he gives me a lot of advices and positive vibes. That is the reason why I have used the word enlightening thoughts. And again, I'm continuing by saying his talks are always interesting just because he knows the art of discussion, and he interviews celebrities and politicians in detail and makes them so comfortable in the interview that they give him really very essential and vital information given their field. What is the meaning of this sentence? That his conversation is always interesting, that I won't get bored. That's what I meant. That it is always, dramatic, and that I get to involve and listen to what he is saying. I don't get bored or I don't deviate the topic, because he has a knack of, discussion. Since he take interviews on different people and personalities, that he is very comfortable carrying out a conversation. There are a lot of people who can deliver the message in a very, nice way, such a way that the listener is very involved in the conversation. So there are a lot of people such who delivers the conversation that way. So I'm saying that my friend is also has a knack of such discussion or to carry out the conversation, since he has his profession is related to that kind of a profile, that he takes a lot of interviews on people, ask queries or engage them in conversation, maybe an half an hour or an hour. So he has a flow of talking that make the other person involved in the conversation. So that's why I like this person. So I have answered all the 4 questions, and make sure that you're speaking continuously. And that too, I have said in the beginning that there is no rule that you need to go in an order for these 4 questions. Okay. First, you need to obviously say the name. That does not mean that you're going to the 4th question and saying, I know the him and so and so. Him is a referring word, right? So you cannot use the word him without introducing who that person is. So obviously you need to introduce first the person, and then you can jump the questions and say in between how you met, or why you like that person, or what do you do with the person, be anything. Okay, so make sure that you continuously speak more than 2 minutes, and while you're practicing, practice for at least 5 minutes, so that you don't hum in the way or give a pause or think about what is the next question, or about ideas. And like I said, keep in mind that don't directly go to the first question when your time starts, because after talking about this 4 questions, frankly saying, you will have a minute ahead, and our task is to speak for 2 minutes. So what you need to do is, you need to talk about the statement first and then go for the question. And in order to get a high band, that is using high vocabulary in speaking, what you need to do is, you need to use a lot of idioms. I have stated some idiom also, and I have included some idioms in the coming slide also. So vocabulary, how you can use vocabulary for childhood. Here I have given some examples like friends, friendship, parents and parenting. But some phrases, useful phrases are like upbringing. Upbringing means what? It's the way a child is being raised. That is, he had a strict upbringing. That means he was brought up in a strict environment by his parents. That's what it means by upbringing. The next one is bring up or brought up. Okay, so bring up is the simple present tense and brought up is the simple past tense. Okay, so the example is, he was well brought up. Means what? He was tamed, or he was raised as a child as so and so. He was well brought up. That means nalla poleyana valarnu vannathu, allengil valarthikondu vannathu nalla reethiyilana, well brought up. Okay. And the next one is have good manners. To be polite and well behaved is the meaning of good manners. She has good manners. She always help her neighbors. So these are some of the words which we can commonly use for childhood, or maybe friends or family also. You can use these 3 phrases, and by using vocabulary like this, it will obviously increase your band score. And another thing which I said is, if you use idioms, it will surely boost your band score. And those who are aiming for speaking 7 above, you're supposed to use idiom. And especially to migrate to Canada, nurses need to get 7 for speaking, and even for students they need to get at least 6.5 if you are moving as a student. Even for migration also you need 7. So in order to get a band 7, you're supposed to use an idiom. And I have already explained a few minutes back that what is an idiom is. It's an expression of usage of a language that is peculiar to itself, either in having a meaning that cannot be derived from the conjoined meaning of its element. To simple structure, what I can say is it's a phrase used to elaborate a situation. Understand? In order to elaborate a sentence, in order to save time, what we do is, instead of saying the full sentence, we use that phrase. I'll show some example which will be made clear to understand what is an idiom is. So here I have used some idioms which is related to people and children and babies. Okay. The first one is bun in the oven. What is bun in the oven? Anybody can say? It is already written pregnant. Can it say about a sentence which can be put for bun in the oven? Mustafa, Binu, Shiji, everybody can, yes, somebody is typing. How can you use bun in the oven in a sentence? Yes. You can use this in any phrases, okay? Bun in the oven. If you are especially using, talking about child or babies, you can use this idiom. And how you can use? That's what my question is. Just talk about a sentence where this idiom can be put in between. Nobody? Because once you start using the idiom, then only you can, have a good boost up for your vocabulary, especially for speaking. Because once you study a lot of idioms, another task is how to put these idioms in a phrase. That was a bigger, task. If a person has asked you, why are you taking leave? And if I'm pregnant, I can say, I took leave because I am bun in the oven. That means what? I am pregnant and I have taken leave regarding this situation. That's what it means by bun in the oven. The next one is baby. It's babe in arms, okay? It's not baby. So babe in arms means a baby being carried. So how you can put this babe in arms in a sentence? Because these idioms have to be used, naturally while you speak. So how you can put this idiom in a sentence? If my question is like, have you seen Lara's daughter? The answer is no. Her daughter is in babe in arms. Means what? Lara's daughter is in her arms. That's what means by the idiom. Likewise, we can use all these idioms to the phrases that we are speaking. The next one is baby in the woods. That is an innocent, naive person. So you can use such phrases for an idiom. Born in the wrong side of the blanket means born to parents who were not married. See, since I said you need to use idiom, don't use any idiom on any phrases. Make sure that the idiom is appropriate in that context, and make sure they use such a way that it is correct or apt for that particular sentence, okay? And there are certain idioms which is very easy to be remembered. So make sure that you have a handful of idioms in your hand so that you can use freely for your speaking. And the next idiom which I have brought up here is child's play. Child's play is a very easy task. I think this idiom can be used for any kind of speaking. Okay, make sure that you keep noted. The next one is wet behind the ears. That is inexperienced, immature, new to something. So if a question is asked like, how was your first day at work? And imagine that you are a fresher and your first job and your first day, and you are still confused and you are still immature and you are prone to new, to some new environment. So you can say, the person is asking, how's your day? You can say, oh, well, it's not quite good because I'm wet behind the ears. Means what? I am in a dilemma where my situation is kind of bad. Understand? That's what it means by wet behind the ears. The next idiom is sleep like a baby. Sleep like a baby means to experience a very deep and restful sleep. So I'm saying, how was your sleep? And if I took a nap, I will say, oh no, my sleep was not like a baby. See, again, I can talk on the other hand also. So I'll be saying, well, my sleep was not like a baby. That means I haven't slept for a long time, or I did not have a deep sleep. That's what it means by not sleep like a baby. Or if you're saying like I slept like a baby, means my sleep was prolonged and it was deep and I got a restful because of that procedure. That's what it means by sleep like a baby. Next one, chip off the old block. That means someone who resemble a direct ancestor. That is like നമ്മൾ മലയാളത്തിൽ പറയത്തില്ലേ ഛായ ഒരാളുടെ രൂപം കണ്ടിട്ട് we say that he is very similar. Especially we can hear like you look like your dad, or you look like your mom, you're like ditto copy or photocopy, and everything we can hear. The same thing. Chip of the old block. That means you look like the chip of the old block of your mom. You need to state who the person also, okay? That means what? You look like your mother. That's what it means by chip off the old block. And the last idiom which I have used here is like a kid in a candy store. Do you know what it is means by, or have you ever used in your lifetime any of these idioms? Okay, fine. To be excited, what it means by the like a kid in a candy store means to be excited about one surrounding, that one acts in a childlike. That means you are more like a child, carefree and not bothered about what's happening around you, and you are excited about the little things around you. So you can say like, how was your trip? Yeah, I can say I enjoyed a lot and I was like a kid in a candy store. That means I was very enjoyable, and I acted as a child and carefree and enjoyed every bit of it. So I can say I enjoyed the trip like a kid in a candy store. So these are some of the idioms which is related to childhood, baby and child. Likewise, there are a lot of idioms that can be used, and make sure that you are not using more than 2 in your speaking, because over usage of vocabulary again is a negative impact. Make sure that there is no such an impact from your side, and note that there is no negative marks. But then if you're making a grammatical error of simple grammar tense mistake, and you're using high vocabulary of idioms, they know that you have memorized such words to be joined to such words. So make sure that you're not making small errors and not using over usage of idioms. Make sure you use a minimal, that is about 2 is very good, and again you can use idioms for your follow-up also. So I would like to wind up today's class by saying that your cue card is for 2 minutes. You have 1 minute preparation time, and in order to get a 7 band above, you're supposed to achieve all the tasks, that is your 4 questions asked, and especially you need to use high notch of vocabulary and idiom especially in order to gain a 7 above band. So make sure that you learn a couple of idioms which is commonly used and commonly used for any kind of scenario. So I would like to wind today's class, and since it is weekend, I wish everybody has a very beautiful week ahead, and I will see you next week for another live sessions conducted by Tiju's Academy for speaking. And have a good day. Thank you, and all the best for your speaking and your exam. Thank you all.